Hello, this is Jim Coppin with Rankin Technical College. Just wanted to kind of go over the Chapter 19 hands-on test. And we'll go ahead and, just do this again since we've only kind of really did this one time with the lab as far as loading the database with the MDF files. And then I'm going to go ahead and go through some sample SQL insert and update statements because there's a few of those in the hands-on test. So we'll go through those as well. So first we want to go to inside Rankin for the hands-on test and grab the zip files. Download those. Okay. And then from there, there's two different ones, the Premiere and the AdventureWorks. Just right click. I'm going to right click and do extract all. And let's see if I have that looks right. So I'm going to go to my repository, hands-on test, chapter 19, and go ahead and extract there. Okay, so there's the Premiere one. And then we'll go ahead and grab AdventureWorks. So right click on that. And like I said, I think when we did the lab one, I don't know what kind of, zip tool you're using. I'm just using the default one with Windows. So I'm going to extract all here. And we're going to put it in the same directory, hands-on test, chapter 19. Extract that. Okay, we have both of those in there. And so now we're just going to go ahead and bring up Visual Studio. And go ahead and create a new project. And we're just going to create a WinForms app. Doesn't really matter that much. Next. And that's going to be the location of our hands-on test. Chapter chapter 19 hands-on test, and then next, create. Now, since you've already loaded a database from before, you probably should still have it in here, okay? Don't really want that there though, do we? So here, then, we're going to come back, do the same thing we did for the Henry database. We're going to right-click on this, add connection, and we're going to change this data source up here to a SQL Server database file. Hit OK. We're going to browse. So we're going to browse to different hands-on test directory, chapter 19. And we'll grab the Premiere one first. So there's the MDF file. You have to make sure it's MDF file. You're not going to load in a folder, right? It's got to be the MDF file. Open. There's that. Leave everything else default. Hit OK. Asking once again that because the MDF file we are supplying is not really compatible with the current instance of the SQL Server. So we're going to go ahead and do you want to upgrade the database file now? We're going to click yes. And then there is your database. Let's make sure we got our tables. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and do it again. We're going to right click on here, add connection. I'm going to change this to the My SQL Server database file. Hit OK. I'm going to browse to that. Select the MDF file, hit open. Hit open. And we're going to click yes to update the database file, to upgrade it. And then we have that. So, and this will stay in there, as long as you have this. Once you put these in there, you can always remove them later on. But for now, they'll stay in there, okay? One thing to mention, so let's say if you want to do a new query here, this will bring this up. You always have to make sure, just kind of want to mention up here, available databases. So like if you're here, like I'm on this Henry one, and I'm sorry, I probably should have pointed out, it had a little red X there because it really wasn't connected. It'll connect once when you bring this up as like a new project, whatever was there is not going to be connected. When we added these, AdventureWorks and the Premiere, it's connected. And since I right-clicked on here and clicked New Query, it connects the database. But just to let you know, so right now, this one's actually, you can't see it, but this one here is actually the Henry one. So you have to make sure that you're selecting the right one, right? If you want, just to make things easier, if you're already finished with the lab and you're starting the hands-on test, you can delete the Henry one. That's up to you. But just make sure whenever you do this, like right-click here and do a new query, make sure you're attached to the correct one, right? Which one was that? The Adventures one. So just make sure that you're connected to the Adventures one. It should be by default, but sometimes it can get a little hosed up. So the way this database is set up, it's using a schema. As you can see over here, it has sales LT. This is a schema. So when you go ahead and do a select statement, you'll have to do it just a little bit differently than what we did for the lab. So here I'm just going to select star from, and then you're going to do it like this. You're going to do sales, okay, LT dot customer or whatever. I'm just doing the customer one, and then you can run that like that, okay. And for this hands-on test, the instructor that created this, there is that Word document, so you really kind of need to take and cut and paste. You get one working, get it working, cut and paste it, put in that Word document for each one, okay? So, well, this was the AdventureWorks one, okay? And then the other one was the Premiere one. Let's take a look at that one. So in this case, though, you don't have, and here you have to change this to the right one, Premiere. And this one here, you got a customer. The thing that really helps with a schema, especially if you got different things, working on different things at one time. Here, so running, this makes sure that you are using that sales LT one as opposed to if they were both customer, right? Then you wouldn't know which one you're hitting, But this one doesn't have a schema with it, so you can just do it normally with the Premiere thing, right? But for the AdventureWorks one, you need to make sure that you prefix that with the sales LT, okay? So then that's that one. I'm not going to go through different statements here. That's for you to do for the hands-on test, obviously. But I will go ahead and spend a little time in W3 schools going through insert and update statements. So let's do that now. Okay, and so here we are, W3 schools. So one thing I did want to show you here, it can kind of be beneficial. Sometimes, trying to find things on the left-hand side here, and then sometimes your things are difficult to find or they're kind of buried somewhere a little bit. So what you can kind of do here also, that works pretty well, is like here you just do that. And so I'm going to show an insert statement, and then just I'm going to hit enter, or you can hit the search. Then here's your one. Here's the one I want, right? So just kind of an easy way to get there. You need to make sure you prefix it though. If you don't prefix it, because W3 Schools has all these other languages, JavaScript, C, C#, all these other ones as well. And so it's going to kind of search that whole thing. So if you prefix it like with SQL, that really helps. So here we're going to look at the insert into, okay? So what you're doing is you're inserting into a table, right? Certain columns, column 1, 2, 3, etc. And then you also have a part of it is values. So the value 1 corresponds to column 1, value 2 to column 2, and value 3 to column 3, etc. Okay? So here is an insert into. So this is inserting into customers, and obviously this customer database is not the same one that is that we're using for our hands-on tests. This is just one within W3 schools. So they're inserting into customers. They have a customer name, which is the first one here. Customer contact name is the second one. Address, city, postcode, and then country. Okay. And then here's another one here, a little smaller. Customer name, city, and country. And then, here's one way to insert multiple rows of data. You can insert into customers, and then, you define all your columns, and then within parentheses, separated by commas, you can load multiple data rows, right? Multiple rows of data. Okay, so there's that. That's the tutorial. All right. And then we also want to go ahead and look at SQL update. So here's SQL update statement. And for an SQL update statement, you're going to update the table name. And generally, you're always going to have a set command. You're going to have an update, table name, a set is going to be column equal value, and then you have a where condition, right? So here's a section from the customer table, and it's just showing update customers, set the contact name equal to Alfred Smith, city Frankfurt, where customer ID is 1. Right? So most of the time you're always going to be using, we talked about briefly primary keys, right? So the primary keys like customer ID, so the first one to list. Usually you're always best off, if possible, to use a customer ID, right? Or use the primary key when updating a row, right? Let's see. It's just showing how it's going to look like. Update multiple records. So here you're not using you're not using a primary key. And the reason I said it's a good idea to use the primary key kind of depends on what you're doing. When you're wanting to update one row, usually probably should use that primary key to make sure that that's this exact row. If you're going to be updating multiple records, right? You're kind of doing the same thing here as you did this last one, but instead of using the primary key of customer ID, right? You're using a country of Mexico. So this is going to update multiple different ones. Anywhere the country is Mexico, right? It's going to set the contact name to 1, right? Be careful when updating records. If you omit the where clause, all records will be updated. Yep. So, yep, very important to have that where clause in there. If not, like it's just showing you, if you do this, it's going to update contact name for everything in the customer database. Or the customer table, I should say, sorry. So update city columns. So obviously this is how you would do this. Update customers, and you're going to do a set city that would update all. For all customers, it would set the city, right? I guess we can click this. Submit answer. Okay. It's not too bad, and it's not going to be too difficult for what you need to do for the hands-on test. Just kind of want to go through those a little bit. Obviously, you can go through that yourself. Um, but I think W3 Schools helps with these kinds of things and should help you with the hands-on test. So please let me know if you have any questions. Thanks. Have a good one.